On three. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Namaste Wellness Show, where we talk about all things holistic health for the mind, body, and spirit, for people and pets with a touch of cultural soul. My name is Laura. I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to be talking about animal Reiki, and I have a very special guest. Miss Kathleen Prasad is the founder of Animal Reiki Source and president of the Shelter Animal Reiki Association, also known as SARA, S-A-R-A. She's been a Reiki practitioner and teacher for 25 years, and she has pioneered Reiki for animals, creating the first and only ethics of the profession, as well as the Let Animals Lead project. Welcome, Kathleen, to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. I'm so happy to be here.
All right. So I'm glad we finally got you on. So so first tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into Reiki energy healing.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So I actually fell into Reiki accidentally, which maybe sometimes that's the best way to find what you're supposed to be doing in your life. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
sometimes, yeah.
I was a middle school teacher in San Francisco, actually, and I planned on doing that for my whole career. I really thought, because I loved the kids, I loved teaching. I taught history, English, and drama,
Oh,
and I
wow.
loved it. And then I discovered Reiki, and my mother-in-law actually is the one who brought it to my attention. She lived in Denver at the time, and she had a surgery that wasn't healing well, and she wasn't quite sure what to do. And she went to see her doctor, and he said, well, it's not healing. We're not really sure. We're going to have to do another surgery to go in and take a look and see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And she was complaining about it at work, and one of the lab techs was also a Reiki master. She
Mm.
overheard her
Oh,
complaining,
wow.
I have to go back in for another exploratory thing. And she said, well, how about, would you like some Reiki to try to see if that could help? And she's like, Reiki, what's that? And so
Right.
I ended up getting a series of Reiki sessions from this Reiki master, and who's named Martha Lucas, who actually is my very first Reiki teacher. And she is based out of Denver, and she's
Mm-hmm.
also an acupuncturist. And so
Okay.
she ended up getting this series of treatments, and she was healed. So
Mm.
she went back to the doctor, and he checked her again and said, well, I guess it resolved. I guess we can cancel that exploratory surgery to see what's wrong.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome.
So yeah, so she was so excited.
Mm-hmm.
She called me and she's like, oh my God, next time you visit Denver, you have to get a Reiki treatment from Martha. She's amazing. And she totally helped me. And it's so awesome. And for me, I'm like, what? Reiki? What is this? And it just
Right.
sounded kind of strange, but it's my mother-in-law. So what am I going to
Right.
do? Right.
Yeah.
I have to
She
humor her.
invited you, right? Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I really, my first Reiki session was kind of like, I guess I'll try it. I mean, but I wasn't really even interested in it. It was just something I was doing for her.
Okay.
I still remember that first session because I was laying on the massage table. Those of you who've had a Reiki session, you lay on your back on a massage table, and the practitioner works in your aura or on certain light touch positions on your body, usually starting at your head and moving down your body. And I'll never forget, she did towards the end of the set. First of all, I was so relaxed within 5 minutes. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
She did put her hands on the bottoms of my feet, and I literally felt a current of energy flow from my feet all the way up. And it was so strong, it made my head like move,
Really?
dink.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, like I really felt that. Like I felt the flow like so strongly, and I felt so relaxed. And I had grown up being a super anxious person, having panic attacks,
Oh, wow.
being really anxious my whole life since I can remember when I
So
was
you
really.
really needed that was something that came to you that was very helpful to you.
Absolutely. I got up off the table. I felt 10 years younger. I felt 10 pounds lighter. I was like
Wow.
walking on air, and I was like, oh my
Your
God,
soul.
I have to learn
Yeah.
this. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't good enough to get a treatment. I wanted to learn how to do this because I just knew like my soul knew that this was going to heal my anxiety. I just knew
Wow.
it,
That's
you know?
amazing. Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
that was really my first experience with Reiki. And the reason I was motivated to learn it was for my own healing.
Okay.
Um, and so, yeah. And then the animal part kind
Mhm.
of came unexpectedly later on.
Let's okay, before you go into that, you want to explain, I know you explained how you do the Reiki. What is Reiki?
So Reiki it's a Japanese holistic healing system, and it was created in 1922 in Japan. So we just had our 100-year anniversary last year.
Right, yeah.
And it was created by a Japanese spiritual teacher in Japan.
Mm,
And the whole, it really was a system for spiritual development and
mhm,
healing. And
mm,
so the core teachings are very Japanese based, but it's things like the Reiki precepts, which is do not, for today only, do
mhm,
not anger, do not
mhm,
worry, be grateful, work diligently, and be kind to others. So
right.
there's that spiritual teaching, which we meditate on in Reiki. And then there are breathing exercises, and I'll teach one of those today for your
Yeah.
viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is sort of a, again, a Japanese practice that focuses on the lower belly, which is your center of grounding, your connection to earth,
Uh-huh.
your your sort of balance. And so
And
we
just to add a little something there, yeah, you're mentioning the Dantian. So you do Qigong or Tai Chi or something like that, that area between the navel
yes,
and the lower belly area.
yes,
The
yes.
Dantian, yeah, they
And
call it the Dantian.
that's Chinese. So in Japanese, that's the hara.
Oh, the
And
Hara. Okay, Hara. Okay.
yes,
That's
yes.
so okay. Yeah. They all that's all that word is also used in Kundalini yoga too. The Hara, I think that they use that
Interesting.
sometimes. I
Interesting.
believe so. I might be wrong about that. Okay, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to kind of
Yeah,
inject
no,
that
totally.
little detail there. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
those details are cool. So yeah, so I think this idea of your center is kind of a universal teaching. You can find it. So a lot of
Mm,
these Japanese Reiki teachings, we can see parallels in other spiritual teachings, which I think
absolutely.
is
Yeah.
really
Mm,
beautiful. And
right.
then there's the hands-on healing, which is probably what most people who've had a Reiki treatment or have, seen pictures of one, probably what they're thinking of is hands-on healing. So
Mm,
the client would lay down on a massage table, fully clothed
mm-hmm.
and just relax. And then the practitioner will move around, usually starting at the head and kind of moving down the body, but doing light touch
Mm-hmm.
and resting the hands lightly for a period of time and then moving to the next position, sometimes working in the aura, not directly on the body, but a little off the body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they've actually done some scientific studies about Reiki, and they don't understand the mechanism of how it works. But
Mm-hmm.
what they have discovered is that it activates the parasympathetic response. And
Mm,
that is our rest and relaxation
right.
state.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yes, it's really
So,
helpful.
so it's the same as how would you do that with Reiki on an animal?
So, yeah, this is
Or say a
where
cat or a dog or a horse? Because I know you work, I just want to clarify, you work with all animals, cats, dogs, horses, birds, I mean, any all
everything,
animals, correct?
everything. Yeah.
All of
Well,
our animal friends.
exactly. We have many, many different kinds of friends, different species of friends and animals for sure. And they all love Reiki, but I had to learn the approach. The approach is really different. So the central teachings are the same. Reiki teaches about compassion and it teaches about peacefulness and calming your mind and centering yourself and being present. Mindfulness is a central teaching in Reiki. So
Mm-hmm.
all of this is something that animals really appreciate when we get ourselves in that calm mindful state. But
Right.
then when I first started practicing Reiki, I also used that touch part as well because I had learned that for humans. And for
Right.
some animals, that worked fine. Like my own dog would roll on his back and offer me his belly, and I would, rest my hands there, and
Right.
like happy.
Uh-huh.
But I was also walking dogs at a local shelter. And so I tried to, do these hand positions on the dogs there. Now, a lot of those dogs came from, traumatic pasts and abuse where
Mm.
first of all, I'm a stranger.
Yeah.
Second of all, they don't necessarily trust people because of what
Right.
they've been through. And third, hands might be to them something scary, not
Right.
something healing, right?
Right.
So for these animals, I couldn't use a hand positions.
Mm.
So I had to find a different way. How could I connect in that place of rest and relaxation to help them activate their parasympathetic response and just,
Relax.
right?
Yeah.
And dogs in shelters, extremely anxious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they really needed that piece.
Mm.
How did I do that if I couldn't do hands?
Right.
And that was what kind of led me on a journey of finding a different way to connect energetically with animals while still using all the Reiki principles and
Mhm.
foundational teachings,
Mm.
but not the protocol, not the human-based protocol. And so that's how I have over the years created the Let Animals Lead method of animal Reiki.
Mhm.
And that is really meditation based.
Okay.
So, different types of Reiki teach different things, and some of them are more touch based and some of them are more meditation based. So
Okay.
our method kind of draws upon that meditation based teaching
Okay.
and then allowing the animals to come forward if they want touch. But if they don't,
Gotcha.
that's also fine. And think about it this way, like you have cats, right?
Mhm.
So your
And I
cat
and I grew up with dogs. Yeah.
grew up with dogs. So
Mhm.
for your cats and your dogs, right? Just
Yeah.
think about the way they react when you have someone over, right?
Mhm. Oh
They
yeah.
they sort of check them out from a
Right.
distance, right? And they
Right.
figure out their energy and whether they like them really from across the room.
Distance. Right.
And by
Exactly.
the time they come forward and let them, if your dog lets, the person pet them, or if your cat comes over to get pet, they have already sized up that person and figured out, okay, that's a good person. I trust that person. Now I'm going to let that person touch me, right?
Well, let me ask a question because I have, friends and family that they don't really care for cats too much, and they'll say they've told stories that I went over to my friend's house and I don't even like cats, or maybe they don't even like dogs, and that dog just keeps a cat just keeps coming, wants to be right next to me. So I'm just wondering, how do you interpret that?
Well, it's funny because my husband is terribly allergic to cats. So if
Mm,
we go to someone's house that has a cat, he has to take allergy medicine to even be able to go in there. And then
wow.
he's like, okay, I shouldn't touch the cat or be near the cat, but he likes them, but
Okay.
they don't like him, right? It's like
Oh, okay.
and sneezing
Because
and
of all
eczema
his
and yes, terrible allergies.
okay.
Every place we go, the cats are all over him like a magnet. And he's like, he can't resist. He's like kissing them and petting them and everything.
Wow.
And then his eyes are all swollen when we leave. And it's like
Oh,
a big
no.
mess. But I always laugh because
Uh,
it's like his energy is like, leave me alone. And then the cats are all, oh, you're safe. Because I think cats
Oh.
feel that energy like, I want to pet you. I want to hold you. And it's like,
So
excuse me.
even if they don't like they say they don't like the animal perceives them as safe. That's interesting.
Because it's their choice, right? The person's
Yeah.
not making, and this is how you let animals lead, right?
Uh-huh.
The person isn't deciding, oh, I'm going to pet you. I'm going to come up to you. I'm going to look at you and come
Oh,
over
okay.
and engage you.
The
They're
animal
deciding.
too.
So,
Got you.
and they get to pick. And
Got
then,
you.
then they're like, oh, okay, this is up to me. This is the way that I want to approach them. It's completely, they're not approaching me at all. I can do this my way. It's all up
Got
to me,
you.
right?
That makes sense. Okay.
So,
Okay.
but they always sense that he's like, trying to keep to himself, and then they always come over. It's really funny. And then, the opposite is true. You have a person come over to your house. Oh my God, I love cats. I can't wait to see. And then
Right.
they hide under the
Yes,
bed, right?
right. They're running, trying to get away
That's
from
a cat,
it.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I hadn't thought of that. But that's a good way to look at it.
But
Yeah.
animals sense energy
Yeah.
much
You
more
know that.
deeply than we do, right? And so the same with energy. Reiki is an energy healing modality, but for humans, how do we relate to energy? It's hard for us. It's like super subtle. Some people don't even believe in energy. That's how subtle it is,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
For us, that the
Mhm.
touch gives us a bridge where we can say, oh yeah, something's happening here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
animals don't need that bridge,
Right.
right? They sense energy much more subtly and from a distance. And it's just the way they've evolved. Like my horse.
Uh-huh.
My horse is a prey animal. Now in the wild, horses live in herds. And
Okay.
they have, one horse who's guarding over the other horses. And if they see a predator on the horizon, a
Uh-huh.
dot, they alert everybody and they run.
Okay.
They
Right.
can't wait till the predator is standing next to them, touching them, right? They would
Right.
never survive.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they learn to communicate in their environment through long distances energetically. And I mean, there's amazing stories of like wild animals that sense, animals from miles away. They can tell if a
Mm.
predator is coming in from miles away. So,
Mhm.
there's a deeper sensitivity in just their bodies and how they relate to the planet. And so
Right.
when we share Reiki, we don't need to have that touch, right?
Mhm.
To make
Right.
that connection. We have to
Okay,
just
that makes
realize,
sense.
oh yeah, they're much more sensitive and they get it.
Sensitive to the energy. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So you're basically saying humans may need that actual touch, but animals, because they are so sensitive to energy, that you can do it. I think when I listen, I was doing the mentorship program with Lisa Guyman last year, the Reiki master teacher, and you were saying how you can even be across the room and give Reiki to an animal. And I want to add one more thing. I did have a little cat, and she was very skittish. And I had read, I think it was in the book I mentioned earlier, there's a book called Pets Tell the Truth, about a woman who was a scientist actually, and she became a animal communicator after she lost several of her cats. I think she had several cats, and when they passed, she said it was even harder than losing one of her family members when she lost her cats. And so she just had to understand and how animals communicated, and she wanted to communicate with the animals. And so she went from this very scientific approach to energetic approach. And she was, talked a lot about how just stroking above the animal who may not want to be touched. So it's kind of similar to what you're saying. And I would do that with my little cat that was very skittish, and I would just stroke above her. And she, seemed like she would respond, to that. And she would, if she was sleeping or something, she would put her head up because I may be behind her and just stroking right above her little body. And she would put her head up and look around. So that sounds very similar. So yeah. So
Yeah,
continue.
they really feel things much more easily than we do.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think they're probably more connected to what you would call, God, whatever this creation is. And that's how they naturally know how to give birth without, by themselves. When I watched our cat give birth, I thought, oh my gosh, she's doing all this by herself. I mean, she did everything, and she was when one finished taking care of the one that came out, she was boom, boom, boom with the next one, and she cleaned up everything. And I mean, I was just amazed. I was like, oh, I don't know what to say, but they know exactly what to do, in other words.
That's
So
nature wisdom. I mean, we have to like take classes. We take like birthing classes and
right,
parenting
right.
classes, and then we need like a doula, and we've got to have a nurse and
At least modern times, because
yeah.
I know, before all that, they were giving birth at home and
Well, we've gotten disconnected from nature. And I think
yeah,
this is our modern world and all our technology. We're so connected on the internet, but we're kind of disconnected to nature.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, there is a beautiful experience that I had at a horse sanctuary. They brought in, this is Remus in England, a place that I go to teach.
Mm.
And they take in a lot of horse abuse cases, and they took in these two little baby horses that had, been starved, and one of them could barely even stand, and they weren't sure if either of them were going to make it. And so they left them with food and water and everything overnight. And the founder of the sanctuary has cameras that she has at home, so she can keep an eye on all the animals when she goes home
Oh, okay.
at night. So she was watching them at night, and in the middle of the night, the stronger baby went over and laid down up against next to the weaker baby and
Wow.
slept there. And when she came in the morning, the little weaker one had passed away. And
Oh,
so somehow that other baby knew that, their little sibling was going to pass, and that she needed to be with her and to hold space for her. And that always just touched me so much. Like, how does a baby horse know how to hold space for the dying process? Like, that's a kind of nature wisdom
yeah.
that animals hold that we've lost. And
Yeah.
that's why, again, my method is let animals lead. When you
Right.
start to realize
Mm-hmm.
how much more animals understand about life
Mm-hmm.
and death, and
Yeah.
the circle of life and death,
Right.
and nature and the cycles of nature, and then you kind of go deeper and go, okay, and energy
Mm.
and balance and harmony, right?
Right.
Animals understand and live in that space because and I believe that we have that within us. It's kind of our essence too, because I think we're all made of the same stuff,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
we just have so many layers that
Right.
cover it, and we've just really forgotten our connection. So
Right.
animals can bring us back to that connection. But even as we want to connect with them in like a Reiki space,
Mm-hmm.
connecting with them in that healing energy, we have to keep a humble heart and realize I'm still a human,
Mm-hmm.
disconnected. And as much as I practice and try, I can never be in that space of spiritual wisdom that animals are. And just really respecting them for that wisdom. And I think that really comes through for animals when you want to share Reiki with them, if they're not feeling well, if they're sick or, stressed or whatever. When you approach them with that humble heart and you really see them as your teachers, see them as this amazing sentient being with so much to give to the world,
Wow.
that shows in your energy. Animals feel that, and it makes you a safe person, you
Mm.
know? And so that's a big thing, that humility that
Yeah.
I teach to my students.
Well, that also makes me think about how important it is for the human guardian who has pets, cats or dogs or any type of animal, how important it is for them to be calm and peaceful themselves, because naturally the animal, your pet will respond in kind to, to that negativity out, if someone's anxious or if they're depressed or, so I know sometimes people will get pets to lift them up, which is okay, but it's kind of a relationship, because the animal can respond to your depression, your anxiety, your being all over the place. And then sometimes we'll want to say, well, this dog is unruly. Well, maybe it might be because of the energy going on in the home, with the human beings. So,
Absolutely. Animals mirror us for sure.
yeah.
So if we're stressed, like think about how your animals respond when you're super stressed, and then how do they respond when you're super calm? And that's kind of that idea of what we do with animal Reiki as a meditation practice is we're working on ourselves. We're trying to, one of the things I say is be the mountain for your
Mm.
animals.
Mm.
Be that source of strength and groundedness and calm, and like they can count on you. You're totally stable. Whatever's happening, they can come to mom. you
Right.
know, or they can come to dad. Yeah,
Right.
everything's okay.
Yeah.
Be the mountain. But that's not easy for us to do as humans because we're
Right.
super emotional, we're distracted, we're exhausted, you know, we're, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why our meditation practice is bringing us in, centering us, grounding us, strengthening us so that we can be more of a stable influence. And I feel like for everything animals do for us, like as you were just mentioning, you know, people get animals because they're depressed or they have, you know, and their animals lift them up, right?
Right. Right.
It's true, they do. They
Yeah,
make our
they
lives
do. They do.
better, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So the least we can do is work on ourselves to try to also be able to be there for them when they need us, right?
Right. Exactly. Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about your books. I know you have several books that you, and in your latest book, which I like, the meditation book. So you want to start
Yeah,
with the latest?
I've written a lot of books over the years. So those of you who are dog lovers, you can find all these books on Amazon. Reiki for dogs.
Mhm. Now, do
Those
you
of you,
have them there? Can you put,
I don't have a Reiki for dogs, but I
yeah.
do. And then I have Heart to Heart with Horses. The
Okay.
one that I do have, this is my latest book. I'm very excited about this book. This is the Let Animals Lead Method of Animal Reiki Meditation Journal.
Mhm.
And this, as you can see, it shows a person meditating, and then the animals are all
Uh,
around the person
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
our meditation practice kind of makes our energy draw in the animals. And
Right.
this has a lot of my foundational teachings that I would teach in a level 1 class. And then it has exercises for you to do, contemplations or meditations. So like this one looks kind of like a sun with rays coming out. And
Mm,
what you write on this page is write the actions you can take in your life to radiate kindness, compassion, and love.
beautiful.
So this
Mhm.
is about like, how do we walk in peace, walk in compassion, live a life of harmony, you
Right.
know, and that is really how we make a healing difference in the world. You
Right.
know, it's not just, oh, I did a 30-minute therapy and then I went out and had road rage. You know, it's
Right.
like, let's like
And
bring it
yeah.
in and radiate it out. And so this is about meditating with your animals to completely change your life and live a happier life.
Okay. So now you were going to do like a little 5-minute meditation with us for us today. And is this the meditation that you would recommend, or a sample of the meditation you would recommend to do with your animals, with your
Yes,
pets?
yes. This is
Okay.
my favorite meditation to do with animals. It's something that it will be one of the first meditations you would learn if you take a level 1 class with me.
Okay.
Um, and it's really simple, but it has a very deep power to shift your energy into a space of balance. And then animals feel that balance and they are drawn to you. And then when animals choose to share, that even enhances and uplifts that space even more. And so
Right.
it's like when we sit together in meditation, it's a heart to heart, beautiful compassion. If your animal isn't feeling well, it helps them to feel better. If
Mm,
your animal is healthy, it deepens your bond. So it's an awesome thing to do no matter whether your animal is facing issues or not.
okay, very good. So
So you ready?
yep, I'm ready.
Okay.
Just tell us what to do.
All right. So we'll start in Gasho, palms together. This is a Japanese position. It's just palms together. It's a great way to begin and end every meditation. And let's set our intention to dedicate all the energy of this meditation to our animals.
Mhm.
If your animals are with you, great. And if not, just bring them to your mind and heart. We just invite them to share this space with us if they wish, but it's completely up to them. And then rest your hands on your lower belly. Lower belly in Japanese is called your hara. And this is your connection to your grounding and the earth and your stability, you know, being that mountain for your
Mhm.
animals.
Mhm.
So we're going to do a breath into the hara. So you're going to visualize your breath as a beautiful healing light. And as you breathe in, imagine that light comes in through the top of your head to your crown and moves down, filling your body all the way down to the hara at the lower belly. And then as you exhale, imagine that light can expand gently out of every pore in your skin and into your aura and out into the universe. So breathing in the light in through the crown, moving down to the hara, breathing out, expanding this light in every direction. Breathing in, filling your body with light all the way down to the hara. Breathing out, expanding. And with each breath in, feel that light inside of you getting brighter and brighter. And with each breath out, feel that light expanding further and further into the universe. Breathing in, connecting to the hara. Breathing out, expanding. Breathing in and breathing out. And if distracting thoughts come up, that's fine. Just imagine they're like clouds floating by. Just notice them without judgment and let them go. And go back to the breath. Breathing in the light, connecting to the hara. And breathing out, expanding this light. And then just relax your breath and see yourself sitting in this beautiful light inside you, a light all around you. And this light is filled with compassion, loving kindness, peacefulness, and harmony. And just imagine that you're just shining this light and invite your animals to step in and share this light with you if they wish. Try to let go of your expectations and just be in the light. And however your animals choose to connect is perfect in this moment. And then bringing your hands back into Gasho, palms together. And take a moment to thank your animals for connecting with you in this space. However they chose to connect in this moment was just perfect. And setting your intention to finish the meditation, take a nice deep breath and come back and open your eyes.
Very nice. Thank you. I could really feel that breathing the light in through your crown and down to the hara, and then exhaling. It's like I could actually feel energy coming out through my pores. So yeah, I could really feel that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, sharing that with me and my listeners and my viewers. So
You're welcome. I mean, it's such a simple practice, and we only did that for a few minutes.
Right.
You can feel how it shifts your energy, and that your animals sense that shift also, and that is what draws them to you. And then when your animals step in, they might come forward and lay down. They might just take a big sigh, but any sign of like relaxation shows that your animal is choosing to connect. It doesn't mean they're going to come over and physically touch you, but if they start to relax, that means that they're feeling it and wanting to be part of it.
Right. So now, do you have to be Reiki practitioner in order to share this energy with your animals?
No, I think, every animal lover can benefit from doing this practice that we just did together
Mm.
because we all are energy. It's what we're made of at our most essential level is
Mhm.
energy. So this Reiki practice is a way to get in touch with that.
Mhm.
If you do this practice and you find benefit and you want to learn more, then I recommend you take a full level 1 certification class so that you can learn all the different tools.
Mhm.
And there's so many great techniques and teachings in the first level of animal Reiki.
Mhm.
It's sort of, this is like a little window into that possibility of connecting with your animals, but there's so much more that you can learn.
Right. Yeah, when I meditate, I have three brother cats. There were four, but the actually two of my male cats passed last year. That was very challenging for me. But when I do the meditation, it's so nice. They might be somewhere in the house, and then I'll be in meditation. I'll open my eyes, and they're kind of laying there next to me. So that's very comforting to me, and I assume it's comforting to them too. It's kind of our moment to kind of chill together. There was a story you told last year when I attended your workshop, and you talked about, I don't know if it was a dog that had been abused, and when you went to see the dog, it wouldn't, it took some time for you to I can't remember what the dog's name was, and I'm not sure if it was a dog or was it it might have been a large cat or something, like, a panther or something. I might be, was there some story like that you told? Would you mind sharing that story?
I'm not sure which story you mean, but I do have a Black Panther story,
Yeah, I
or
think
Black
that's
Leopard story, and his name was Makoto. And
I think that's the story. Yeah.
Makoto lived at the Care Foundation. He's passed on now, but I met him the first time I went to the Care Foundation in Florida to teach a Reiki class.
Mhm.
And at that time, he had just come from a really abusive past, and he hated people. And whenever they'd feed him, he'd try to kill the person that came to feed him.
Ooh.
So it
Mhm.
took a lot for them to like clean his cage and
Right.
throw food in. They had to have multiple people to try to distract him and make it safe. So he was
Mhm.
a very angry cat.
Wow. Yeah.
I first went to visit there, um, and I didn't know his story or anything at the time, and I just came up and he rolled over on his back and was like
Mhm.
purring, and I didn't know. I'm like, "Oh, you're so beautiful." And then
Mhm.
I just sort of knew him already. I
Wow.
had this deep connection to him, and the founder of the sanctuary like cried. She's like, "I've never seen him do that with anyone. Oh my God." And I'm like, "Really?" And then she told me how mean he was and how much he hated people, but we
Wow.
had this amazing bond. And he was really a problem for them because he was so ferocious and so
Mhm.
hateful towards people.
Mhm.
So we spent some time. I sat and did Reiki with him, and it was a beautiful connection. And then I went home. I live in California, and
Mhm.
a couple of months later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer,
Ooh.
and that was very scary time in my life. And I didn't know if I was going to get well.
Mm.
I'm very thankful to be cancer free and well today.
Yay. Yay.
But when I started meditating, the first thing when I got that diagnosis, I thought, I don't have what it takes to beat this because I've always been a very, as I said, an anxious person, a very timid person,
Mhm.
an introvert, very gentle,
Mm.
quiet person. And here I am facing this war,
Right. Yeah.
and I have to like be strong
Very
and like
devastating
win this
diagnosis. Yeah.
war. Like, how do I do this? Like,
Right.
and so I sat down to do my Reiki practice, and immediately Makoto, I just saw his face. I saw his snarling face
Wow.
and his growling. I could feel his just ferocity. And I was like, oh yeah, if I fight cancer how Makoto fights, I can win. Like I just knew from his strength
Energy. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly how to win this, and
Uh-huh.
so it was really interesting. So every day I would meditate. Every day he would pop in to the meditation. It was always like the strong snarling roar, cat,
Okay.
cat.
Uh-huh.
And then, I went through all my surgeries, and it was a very tough year, my treatments and everything. And then the next year I went back in February to teach again, and there was Makoto, and he saw me and he recognized me, and he was purring, and it was this
Wow.
amazing connection. And the founder came over and she goes, he's changed.
Wow.
He loves to be, we pet him through the cage now. He doesn't even want his food. He wants us to pet him. He loves people now. And I'm like,
It's amazing.
well, so I feel like we healed each other. Like, I helped
Mhm.
him learn a little bit about gentleness, and he
Yeah.
helped me learn how to be ferocious.
Okay.
And so to me, like, these are
I
the kind
love
of
it.
gifts that meditating with animals can bring. We don't
Uh-huh.
even have to be in the same room with the animal.
Wow.
Their energy, just meeting him that one time, his energy made such an impression on me that it
Mhm.
actually helped me through this really difficult time in my life. I'm so grateful to him, and, rest in peace, Makoto.
Yeah. Well, you can probably, when you do your meditations, when you were talking about, you can bring your animals in. You can bring in animals that maybe have passed on, because everything is energy, right? So
Energy's energy. It's all one. Absolutely.
yeah. Awesome. Well, talk about the trainings that you offer.
So yes, I have I offer online level 1, 2, and 3 trainings. And then I also have um in-person immersion experiences
Mm.
for my students who've trained. So
Oh,
like my next upcoming immersion is going to be at a farm sanctuary in Sonoma, California in May. And
oh, nice.
in February, I went to the Care Foundation, or the exotic animal sanctuary, and we did an immersion there. So it's kind of nice to like have those times as a community to come together and practice together. But then these days I'm doing all my actual trainings
Okay.
online, and I really like doing it that way, because it's a little bit every week, and then you go and you practice, and then you come back and ask questions and share. And so there's a lot of time to practice and to really process these teachings. And so, and then
And
the
this
other
is you're teaching animal Reiki, correct? Okay.
animal Reiki. And it's like, basically you learn everything that you would learn in a Reiki class,
The
except
humans. Okay.
how the approach is for animals.
Got
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
And Reiki from with an animal approach. I guess
Yes.
something like that. And you were saying, did I cut you off? You were saying something
I was
else.
going to say the other thing I wanted to mention, for those of you who have a passion for shelter animals and rescued animals, sanctuary animals like I do, I
Mhm.
started a nonprofit in 2008. Sarah, you mentioned it at the beginning, and we actually have teachers all over who teach and also volunteer in shelters and sanctuaries for Reiki for the caretakers of animals, and also for the
Oh,
animals in
nice.
rescue. And this just brings peace to these shelter environments, which is such a gift and such a blessing. And so any of you who are interested in Sarah Shelter Animal Reiki Association, that's another place where you can find training
Mhm.
and find out more about how to help animals in shelters with Reiki.
So is that the exact website, Sarah,
So it's
SARA? Go ahead.
shelteranimalreikiassociation.org. I know it's really long. It's just the
Shelter
name,
Animal Reiki
association.
Association.org. Okay. All right.
And
Okay.
then my website is animalreikisource.org. That is, Animal Reiki Source is my teaching center. It is my teaching academy. And so there's a blog on there. There's lots of guided meditations and little videos to learn more. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook.
Mm,
Um, so you can find me on social media as well. Um,
okay. So that one is animalreikishelter.com.
Source.
Oh, I keep messing up.
Animal
Reiki
Reiki Source.
Source, animalreikisource.com. Okay. Okay. So, and then from there, okay. So I think there was something else we were gonna talk about. I thought we talked about um the okay. Was there something else that we were going to talk about? We talked about your books, and you said your books are on Amazon, correct?
Books are
You
all
can
on
buy
Amazon.
all on
I
Amazon. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think we pretty much covered everything. Is there anything else you think we have missed or that you would like to share? You want to give some extra tip? You've given a lot of tips. The one thing I kind of wanted you to go over in a little bit more detail is about doing, if someone wanted to do Reiki or just send inner loving, compassionate energy to their animals, in addition to doing the meditation with them that you did a sample of right here on the show for us. How would a person give Reiki to their animal if their animal wasn't feeling well?
So I always say, don't give Reiki to your animal, be Reiki with your animal. So
Okay.
that's why the practice we did is the essential practice. And it
Gotcha.
doesn't change whatever the condition is your animal faces. It could be a physical condition, a mental, emotional condition. Doesn't matter. We always create that space. So to me, it's like Reiki with people is very directed, and I'm in charge and I'm doing hand positions for people because people aren't sensitive to the energy. I
Right.
mean, if you wanted a Reiki session from me and you came to my Reiki clinic and
Mhm.
you said, okay, and then I went and sat across the room and shut my eye and did a meditation, you'd be like, and I'm paying for this? What? Right? But
Right.
you would expect me to do something,
Well,
right?
unless you're doing distance Reiki, because you can do
Right.
distance Reiki. So I assume, just like you can do distance Reiki for a human, you can also do distance Reiki, because you did say the animal doesn't even have to be in the room. But you're specifically talking about if you're in the same room together.
Yes, if you're in
Right.
the same room. And so with animals, to me, it is a very passive practice. For humans, it's a very active practice where we're doing Reiki. We have a protocol that we follow. For
Mhm.
animals, we let go of the protocol and we just be in that space with them without expectation, without focusing on what's wrong. That's another big one of the teachings we didn't really talk about today, but we actually let go of what's wrong and we see with our Reiki eyes, we see their perfection and
Oh,
see
gotcha. That's
their
the
beautiful
see,
light,
that's
right?
the detail I wanted to pull out, was that you are seeing the animal heal. You're seeing them in their healed state, not in their sick state.
Yes.
So just being in that moment and feeling the health of the animal, and not standing over the animal, putting your, like you're saying with a human, you put your hands over them or you put your hands on them. So I think that was the little piece that I missed, and I wanted to make sure that we got that in there too. So,
Yes. I mean, and that's all about your energy too, because animals sense if you are thinking about what's wrong with them.
mhm.
And it can be an obstacle. They won't want to connect. It can make them feel nervous or tense or guarded. If they can sense and feel you zoning in your
Bird,
mind and thinking about what's wrong. And
yeah,
so that's why I noticed that even when I would take my hands off, if I was thinking about what was wrong, then the animal might leave. So
right,
all of this was through trial and error. And how do I make animals comfortable? How do I make them feel safe? How do I make them feel empowered and wanting to come forward and connect? And so that's kind of how it became really just about meditation. And really, what we're doing is we're holding space for
right.
animals in that moment for whatever they need. We're just holding space for them.
Got you. Yeah, because that was really hard when my two male cats passed last year. I was seeing their demise, and I was trying to see them healed, but it was hard because I was watching them, and at some point I just had to let go because I knew it was their decision to move forward, on continue their journey, as they were passing. So it even kind of chokes me up now to think about it. But yeah, that's hard, when you're in that moment, but it is important to see them well.
To
Yeah.
remember to see that they're whole, even that their body is failing, their
It's
spirit is
no,
whole and
right.
always perfect and bright, right?
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
it is so hard for us to let go of the physical because we love that part so much.
Right. Yeah, this is true. I'm laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing just as a release, really, to, let go of that and to see the joy that they they can continue. They're, I'm sure they're still out there somewhere having, having a good life is what I always pray and wish for them. So with that being said, thank you so much, Kathleen, for being on the show with me today. It was very enlightening and inspiring, and I hope it's been enlightening and inspiring for our viewers and our listeners. So maybe you can come back again and talk more specifically once your new journal, you start using it, you can come and tell us how wonderful things are going from that point. So thank you again for being on the show, and I hope everybody will tune in every Wednesday at 11 for the live broadcast, or if you missed the live broadcast, you can always see the replay on all of your major podcasts. So for now, stay safe, stay well. Namaste. All righty.